Hello everybody, welcome back. Part 2 of the Viking River cruise. This portion is the actual cruise portion. So welcome aboard and let's go see what we can get into. We met in the morning at the lobby of our hotel to board a motor coach heading to Tier, which is where we were going to pick up our cruise. Along the way, our first stop, however, was in Reims. And Reims, there was a nice, big, beautiful, old 1400 century cathedral. There's plenty of cathedrals throughout this trip that we visit, and you'll see plenty of those. We headed to downtown Reims and walked around, went to the fountain, and then grabbed a bite in the cafe. The food here was delicious, but the pictures are all bright red because we were under a bright red awning, and it made the pictures turn out red, unknown to me at the time. We also found a pastier, chocolatier, grabbed some bites there. Those were delicious as well, of course. At the chocolatier, I grabbed some of these cork-shaped chocolates. Those were delicious as well. After walking around a little bit more, we headed back to the motor coach, but along the way we found this champagne and spirits building. There I was able to sample a couple of nice French whiskeys, which I did purchase, the two on the right in this picture. We also stopped in Luxembourg at the American World War II cemetery. These are all fallen veterans of World War II, including Patton. As we headed back in the motor coach again to Tier, we found our Viking longship, and we headed down to the longship to board our cruise. Once on board, we got settled into our suite. There's the two whiskeys I had purchased, had our glass of welcome champagne, and there is our travel companions getting ready to board the ship as well, as their bus was a little behind ours on the trip from Paris. We had to get moving and move upriver as these locks were going to close by 2 a.m., which would have prevented us from continuing on our cruise. So we got docked a little up the river, and the next morning we continued our first day at Tier. They actually bussed us back to Tier so that we didn't miss that city. And in the morning, it was a beautiful day. We got up and enjoyed the morning aboard the ship, got on the motor coach and headed to all these lovely sites around Tier that morning. Again, another cathedral. They are many cathedrals out there. You'll see one at almost every port that we stop at. Throughout the day, we strolled around. There was some cocktail sites, many buildings to see, lovely pastry shops, and then the main city area is where we ended our tour. We headed back to our longboat, had the opportunity to get back on board in the afternoon, and of course to enjoy a glass of wine for the afternoon. Our next stop, Bernkastel, where we had planned a escorted trip to a wine tasting. We got off the boat and actually just walked up the hill to this wine room where they had sat us down. We had several glasses of different Rieslings because that is the wine in this region. Rieslings are abundant in this area. And then we toured the city late afternoon and evening, some beautiful sights with the lights there. And then we headed back to the ship to prepare for our next stop, which was Kokum. Here we enjoyed the included tour of a castle up on the hill, and we got to go up there and see the sights, which were amazing view from up on the top of this ridge. This castle was one of the highest points in all of the area. You could see a 180-degree view of the entire valley, and you can see our ship down there in the river. This was an entrance. There's actually a gate that rolls up and down there. We had a fun time just walking around the castle and seeing some of the sights. As we toured the castle, we had a guide that gave us a lot of information about the age of the castle, the different things that transpired there. Don't remember all the details, but fortunately took some pictures to have some memories of the architecture and the beauty of the castle itself. It was just a mesmerizing view, and once you got back outside, just the view was absolutely phenomenal from up on the hill. So we finished up the tour at the castle and went on our way to another wine tasting. This wine tasting was one that was an included tour with Viking. So we went to this winery. They had, as you can see, a lot of Rieslings. We took a little bus ride there. It was a very large group in a very large open area. They had all these different wine artifacts up on the wall. And we, of course, tasted some Riesling. After leaving there, our next port of call was Koblenz. Koblenz is located right where the Moselle and the Rhine come together. The two rivers come together there. We docked in Koblenz and had the opportunity to visit this park area, which had this Colosseum-like structure in the back. And we got to travel along the river Moselle a little bit, and we also got to see portions of the Berlin Wall. These are actual pieces of the Berlin Wall. They had a whole story about them. It was pretty cool to see. And then from there, we carried on throughout the city in a walking tour, different art, different things to see. Different streets, a lot of walking, cobblestones everywhere, but beauty, architectural beauty abounds there in Koblenz. Then we had the opportunity to, of course, see another cathedral of all things. So we went into this cathedral, and again, architecture and some of the age of these cathedrals are very, very old. We decided to take a ride on the tram. They had a tram that cut across the Rhine River, and so we took a tram ride across the river to the other side. Not a whole lot over there, a big park with some viewing area, but it was nice to take the tram ride over and take it back over. We got an aerial view of our ship there. Was a nice opportunity. But back once on board, we, of course, had to sit down and have an Aperol Spritz in the afternoon and getting ready to set sail up the Rhine River. As we set sail that afternoon, we had a guide announcing all the different castles. As you cruise up the Rhine, there was over 30 different castles to the right and left, old castles that are beautiful. We didn't get to stop and visit any, but you did get an opportunity to view them from the river. And of course, as we viewed these castles, each one of them had a number. They provided a numbered list that you could follow along with the narrated guided tour. And he would give you different information about each of the castles and how they came about and who was the famous person that was there. As the day drew to a close, we enjoyed a beautiful sunset, and then, of course, we had to indulge in a few cocktails or two to prepare ourselves for the next morning. The morning sunrise was exceptionally beautiful as we arrived in Mainz, and here in Mainz we were going to take the included tour to the Gutenberg Museum, and we are going to walk over to the museum and around Mainz and see what the day brings us. Of course, as we're walking around, no tour of Vikings would be complete without, of course, visiting another cathedral. So we had another cathedral with beautiful architecture and interesting architectural stained windows, courtyards. All the cathedrals have a beauty of their own. Of course, we couldn't not have a pretzel. Those pretzels were delicious, freshly baked. And then we were at the Gutenberg Museum. Here we got to experience a old press in action, along with a visual of the Gutenberg Bible. No trip would be complete without that. Then we headed out past some fruit stands and flower stands in the courtyards. And here's a food truck. Actually, it was a cheese truck that we passed by. We headed back to pick up our next tour, of course, that of a winery. The wine of choice here, of course, was Riesling once again, but this is one of the region's oldest wineries along the tour. They gave us these god-awful green cups to place around our neck for tasting as we got to walk around the grounds and see different areas around the grounds, the vineyards. We got to go out in the vineyards. I guess it made it a little nice to have the cup to hang around your neck instead of packing a glass with you everywhere you went. This is one that we sampled that we enjoyed, so we did bring some of that back with us. As we headed into the special tasting room, this is where they have some of the aged bottles of Riesling. Yes, aged bottles of Riesling. Riesling does age quite well, so we went in there and got to sample some older Rieslings as part of the tour. And then we headed to the bottle shop where we were able to purchase some wine to take with us. We headed back to the bus and headed out again to our next stop, and that was Germersheim. At Germersheim, they actually have, this is home to the IndyCar trials. They have a racetrack there. We didn't get to visit that, but we did get to go into town and walk about the town quite a bit. It was raining that day, a little dampness. Wasn't heavy rain, it was kind of more of a drizzle, but we got to enjoy the city walking around regardless. As we headed back, we saw some art and many of the different building architectures to that location. We headed back to the ship to get prepared for our next port of call, that of Strasbourg. And Strasbourg was quite a beautiful location. There's some rivers there. We got to walk around and see all the wonderful sights and cafes, and the architecture was just phenomenal. A beautiful city to walk around and about. This, of course, was one of the guided tours that was included with the Viking cruise. So we had a narrated guide using the boxes throughout, telling us about the various locations. But a beautiful city, just absolutely breathtaking with some of its architecture there. As we walked around past cafes and different streets, we wound up at a location where we got to sample some of the chocolates and different things here at this location. We got to go in and eat some of the different chocolates that they had for us to sample. Then we continued on down the road. We stopped at this location to have included a lunch, which included some beer and some pizza. And one of the pizzas was a dessert pizza that they brought out and lit it on fire. So we had a flaming pineapple pizza, if you want to call it that. It was delicious, but it was quite interesting as well. So after completing our day, we had to head back and catch the motor coach again to Chenaux. Unfortunately, we were not able to get on the ship in Strasbourg. It had to move upriver to Chenaux. They bussed us there, and we boarded the ship in Chenaux. So we enjoyed a glass of champagne once back on board, and another cocktail or two as we continued our journey through the locks and on up the river. As we cruised up the river, the evening turned to darkness, and this was the end or final evening of our cruise. We got to enjoy a beautiful evening. We had some cocktails, of course, in the evening and relaxed. before bringing the cruise to an end. The next morning, I decided I would take a video of the bar area where we spent quite a bit of time when we were on board in the evenings. Viking does a very good job with their spirits. We had the spirits package, so everything you see up there was included in our spirits package. We sampled many. At the end of the cruise, we stopped at Chems. This is where we had completed the cruise. But for us, this was the completion of the cruise portion, but we continue on one of those buses you see out there. We head to the Swiss Alps. So thanks for coming along. We hope you had a good time. We'll see you in the next segment. Bye for now.
Cruising for a boozing, we're shaking up fun. From the tiki bar to the pool deck, we're second to none.